to talk about, like, why do I look like this? Why am I sitting on the floor of a condo in Orange Beach? We'll discuss that and a lot of other things that more Alabama related as we get into Locked On Bama. Thank you again for making us the first place you listen when it comes to Alabama podcasts. We appreciate you guys so much. Please carry on your good work, and let's get started with the program.
Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. Jimmy, how are you today?
Just enjoying that Locked On music. Top 10 hit in 30 countries.
You know, you can beat an egg. You can beat a bush. You can beat Auburn when you're down 7 with 97 yards to go and about a minute left, but you can't beat that intro.
No, you cannot. No, it's fantastic. And who knew you could play the horn like that?
Wouldn't that be something if we had like a behind the scenes thing and it really was me on that horn?
That would be awesome.
Those who don't, that tells you about how much we know about music. That neither one, we're just calling it a horn. We have.
Is there a horn? I think there's a horn.
Maybe,
and I don't even. There's probably types of horns, and I can name like 3, and there's probably 20. So like a clarinet. Doesn't Kenny G play the saxophone?
Does he play the saxophone? It doesn't matter. All right, we get off one topic. Look, it's Memorial Weekend. I'm sitting here. I just literally came in from a rainstorm from the beach, and Jimmy just got done with brunch because that's what incredibly rich people do is have brunch. And so we decided let's go ahead and do our podcast day. Jimmy, let's go ahead and start with Alabama baseball. Look, they started out house of fire. I mean, 2 big wins over Arkansas and over Florida, wasn't it? When is over Florida?
Yep. Yeah. Georgia, then Arkansas.
And then they played Florida, and they're just, I mean, Florida and Bama are back and forth. And then they crumble in the late innings. They do the same thing again against Texas A&M. They just crumble in the late innings. I attribute that to depth. But I'm not going to pretend like I know as much about baseball as the rest of y'all, but it sure seems like that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And in the end, though, I feel like they've probably done enough to get in. But I have no problem saying I don't think it's right for a team with Alabama's resume to be playing for a national championship. But I do think it's right if we're going to have 64 teams. I think Alabama should be in the field. I would not have 64 teams in the field. That's just me. But if we're going to have 64 teams, I think Alabama should be in. What say you, Jimmy?
I say no, not in. No, that is not to say that I understand or know the resumes of all the other teams. I don't. I'm just giving a lot of credit here to Kendall Rogers, who's sort of the Jay Billis of college baseball. Kendall knows the sport extremely well. I enjoy following him on Twitter and reading his work. He thinks Alabama is the 3rd team out as of this morning, and I'm certainly not going to disagree with Kendall. Though I'm sure he doesn't bat 1,000, when it comes to naming the field, just like Lenardi and Palm don't bat 1,000 when it comes to the basketball tournament, but they're pretty good. And Kendall Rogers is sort of does the same thing with baseball. Look, we ended up, I know everyone's going to focus on the loss to Florida. And if we had won one more, and I agree, I think they're going to 1 game short. But the game short wasn't losing to a great Florida team in Hoover, or even an even better Texas A&M team in Hoover. The problem was the midweek losses during the season to shit teams. And I don't mean that insulting. I mean shit teams compared to all the advantages Alabama does have. And here's my complaint. And trust me, I could rant in 30 minutes on this. The baseball team has a legitimate excuse as to why they're not nationally elite and why they don't win the SEC. We all know it's a really uneven playing field when it comes to scholarship numbers. Alabama has 11.7. There are teams in the SEC that use other methods to put baseball players on scholarship that Alabama is unable to. The end result is Vanderbilt has about 20 to 25 guys that are fully scholarshiped. Alabama has half that. LSU has over 20. The Florida schools have a lot because they have an education lottery. Look, that that obstacle is a legitimate reason that everyone who really bitches about Alabama baseball should shut up. I mean, because it's literally imagine the football team playing with 40 guys while everybody else in the SEC has 80. Now, that probably wouldn't stop us from bitching either, frankly, but it would be a reason why you're 0-8 in the league every single season, and you would be. Now, that all said, we're not making the tournament because we lost midweek games to Samford, to the Birmingham schools, to competition that does not have the facilities and the history and the tradition or the conference backing that Alabama's got. And those midweek losses are terrible, and that's why they're not. The strength of schedule is third, so they did play a really tough schedule, but they have bad losses, and that's why they're not getting in. And those losses have nothing to do with the scholarship limitations. So there's all that. There's Connor Prelup, which is a whole nother issue, which is fascinating, but also I think really is the poster child for what's going wrong for Alabama baseball over a decade. I mean, Connor Prelup is the best baseball player that's been at Alabama in over a decade, maybe 20 years. And because of injury and COVID and the timing of everything, Connor Prelup pitched, and I think something like 12 games in 3 years, and he's going to be a first-round pick next month. And it's just so Alabama baseball. It's so on brand that the best player we've had in 20 years pitches in about 12 games before he's a multimillionaire first-round pick. And that's just bad luck. It's bad luck. And for those, and I've read some people criticizing Connor, who's now healthy, for not pitching for Alabama down the stretch. Good Lord. I know this. I can tell who has an 18-year-old child that's about to be a multimillionaire and who doesn't. If I was Connor Prelup's parents, I wouldn't let him anywhere near a field of competition right now. He just got healthy a month ago. Yes, he's cleared to throw bullpens. That's not playing in a game. That's not fielding your position. That's not the adrenaline of pitching in a real game. What about if he had to make a throw home? Every time he throws a baseball for right now in competition, he's risking millions of dollars he'll never get back if he tears up his arm again. So, hey, that's parents understandably protecting their kid. Now, if he was healthy since March, since February, different story. He's been healthy for about 3 weeks. And no, no way I'd let my child pitch, not even for Alabama.
No, I agree with you. And here's the other side. You mentioned, can you imagine how much bitching we do if it was 40 scholarships for us and 80 for everybody else? First of all, I'd never get there, because if this were happening in football, we would have an education lottery. You can bet your sweet bottom dollar on that if
so true.
If football were affected, we would have an education lottery. The thing is baseball that's affected, so it's not that big of a deal. And people who are big baseball fans can gripe and moan. That's the way it is. We don't really care. We all pretend that we're really worried about, Alabama baseball, throw in Auburn baseball. But I mean, I've been doing sports shows for like 15 years, and they take up 1% of our time throughout the year. If that, maybe 0.5% of our time throughout the year. We just don't talk about them very much because they don't move any meters. And so, therefore, what the hell are we doing talking about them? That would be what I would ask if I was listening. But I think we are. I think we are just going to throw that out there. Now, I'm also going to go ahead and tell everybody about Bet Online. Our partners at Bet Online can be the number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's basketball playoffs, Major League Baseball scores, fights, and even next season's NFL futures. Also, college futures. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, that's where the game starts. Jimmy, SEC Media Day. It's not SEC Media Days. It's SEC
meetings.
Spring meetings? Is that what it's called?
I think they call them. I don't know if they call them spring meetings. I guess they do. Is it the spring? I guess it's still the spring. I guess summer doesn't start till June 21st, technically.
This is the first year I felt like summer hadn't already started. I mean, it hadn't been in the 90s yet. I mean, I guess it may have been like in the 90s technically, but like I've been at Orange Beach for the last 3 days, and the high's been about 84. So
Yeah.
I can live with that, dude. I can take that, even if it's high humidity. But anyway, so let's pretend like call them the spring meetings. We know that there's going to be a media circus around Jimbo and Nick. If you want to make a prediction about how that's going to be handled between the two of them, I'm interested to hear it. Like, will Nick actually go up to him and have his hand extended like Nate Oates, and then Jimbo's nowhere to be found?
Yeah.
Now, the other thing I want to know is what do you think is going to be the biggest topic of conversation? Is it going to be, are we going to have an answer on this future scheduling that everybody's talking about? You and I have broached the topic. I still believe the best three for Alabama and the most fair and the thing that makes the most sense is Auburn, Tennessee, and Mississippi State. I think that makes the most sense. There are some people that want to put LSU in there rather than Mississippi State. Okay, but I think you have the two closest logistically teams in the SEC, and I think they should play each other in Alabama and Mississippi State. And they have more of a tradition of playing each other than Alabama and LSU. And frankly, LSU has fared just about not just a little bit better than Mississippi State over these last several years. So let's not go nuts. But what do you think about that? And just anything else you'll think will come to these meetings?
Yeah, the Jimbo Nick thing is, I think, what the media is going to focus on a lot because it's probably the most interesting story that will move the needle and get people excited. In terms of what's going to happen, probably nothing. If anything happens, I would predict that Jimbo Fisher puts on another show again for the media. And honestly, I hate to be, I wouldn't even call this conspiracy oriented, but this is sort of how I feel about it. If there is a Jimbo Fisher and Nick Saban in the same room thing and the media is present, Jimbo is either going to make a show of ignoring Nick or he's going to make a show of yelling at him. I think if the media is present, it's that. And in a closed room with zero media present, I think they shake hands and talk it out and make sure there's not a real private problem between the two of them. That's what I think would happen there. And with the scheduling, totally with Luke here, I'm for 9 games. I'm for three regular every season opponents and 6 rotating. So you're constantly playing a new schedule all the time. And I think the 3 for Alabama should be Auburn, Tennessee, and Mississippi State. I don't believe it should be LSU. I'll just make this point. I think the fans out there, that Alabama fans that want it, Auburn, Tennessee, LSU, and want it as hard as possible, playing those 9 games, are probably the same fans that every time we give up a first down, they want to fire the entire coaching staff, cut all 85 kids from scholarships, and burn the place down. Why is that the same people? I just feel that it is. Play the toughest schedule, but you better win all those games by 6 touchdowns, or I'm going to be #mad online, But
well, not only
don't schedule yourself out of the playoffs when you don't have to. That's just dumb. And when the Big Ten complains about Alabama's schedule or anybody's schedule, which is just stupid because year in, year out, Alabama's strength of schedule is like, if not number 1, near it. So we should never apologize for our schedule. But when they do, just point out, what is Alabama doing that's even remotely against the rules? And you follow the rules and try to win a championship, right? And if the rules say you can play 3 FCS teams, we probably should.
No, I agree. And the other thing that people need to remember, Nick Saban ain't going to be coaching forever. I mean, we say this all the time. And so when you have a threesome of LSU, Tennessee, and Auburn, a Tennessee team that's on the ascension, it looks like. It's looked like it's on the ascension before, but I feel like this time for real. And LSU is not going anywhere. And, Auburn is Auburn. So without Nick Saban coaching this crowd, it's going to be a little different. So, yeah, I'd much rather have Mississippi State. I mean, it is a little bit easier. And it does make sense, too. It's not just me making up a rule to have Vandy. I think Tennessee should have Vandy as a permanent opponent. I don't like it,
right,
but I do think that's the way it should be. If we're going to have Vandy in the conference, I got to play some freaking body. Jimmy, we're going to go ahead and take a break right here. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about this and talk about maybe the humbling of college football for a minute. All right, so Do you think we'll have answers on the schedule after these meetings or not? You didn't answer that.
I'm going to go no, but more headway. We'll be close. They'll be close.
All right. This kind of really, I'm a college football guy, just like everybody probably listening to this. I enjoy the NFL, but I enjoy the NFL a lot more now because, number one, I play fantasy football, and number two, because Alabama has so many more dudes in the NFL that aren't offensive linemen. There used to be a time when we would only have like offensive linemen in the NFL, and it made it less fun to watch. We had no quarterbacks, no running backs. Well, how about this from ESPN? I thought I had it pulled up and I don't. The Sugar Bowl has been moved off its usual primetime spot to noon Eastern on December 31st. The Sugar Bowl's at noon Eastern, New Year's Eve, to avoid a conflict with a Monday night regular season game between Buffalo and Cincinnati. And if that is not humbling,
wow, is that that's not a semifinal, is it?
No, it is not a semifinal. The semifinals this year are the Peach and the the one in Arizona, the whatever the heck Fiesta. So but it doesn't matter to me. I mean,
the
Sugar Bowl is 7:00 New Year's night. I mean, that's just what it is. The last time it was, let me see. They said the last time it did this, it was like Texas and Virginia Tech. Last time Sugar Bowl was played before January 1 was 1995, when it was a December 31st game between Virginia Tech and Texas. The Orange Bowl will be played the night of December 30th. Cotton Bowl will be played January 2nd. But, man, you know, and so I guess all the playoff games, or both of them, not all of them, will be played on December 31st. And the Sugar Bowl will be the first game, not as a playoff, just as a lead-in. And
so there will be a playoff game going up against an NFL regular season game.
No,
I'm confused.
I am too. But let me look up CFP schedule real quick. But what I'm saying is, you know, we all love college football so much, and it means a lot to us and all these things. But, you know, does it not humble us that the
NFL eats us up? I forget what stat I saw very recently, Luke, that it's just unbelievable. But I think I'm butchering the stat. I'm a little off, but I'm not way off. So somebody that hears this stat and goes, there's no way that's right, I'm admitting it may not be right, but I'm just off if I'm off. And that is, in 2022, of the 50 most watched programs on American television, of the 50 most all year long, 46 of them were NFL football games. Yeah, something like that. Of the 50 crazy most watched events on TV, 50 most watched shows, movies, TV shows, episodes of anything, 46 of the top 50 watched NFL games. And one of the other four was like Biden's inauguration or something, like something obvious. But it was crazy. And there was like no college football on that list.
Okay, I do have it figured out now. It did throw me for a loop, just like it threw you for a loop. College football playoff, they're all on Saturday night on New Year's Eve. Okay, that I can live with it, but I hate that. Here's the problem. January 1 is on a Sunday this year. So January 1 being on a Sunday means that the NFL is still going to do its thing. The NFL, I mean, for all the people, and the NFL does love the fact that the college system is sort of like this free farm system for them. There's no doubt they love that.
But they're not going to move their games off Sunday.
They don't do shit for college football.
No, they're not moving their games off Sunday. It will be a New Year's Day in America with no college football. It'll just be an NFL replacement. And that's exactly, it's a great point. And it's the point I think you were trying to make. That sucks.
It sucks for us. But I think the majority of, oh my God, Jimmy just hocked up brunch.
Oh.
But anyway, but no, it sucks for us as college football traditionalists. I mean, we just keep tweaking with this game so much, and sometimes it's out of college football's hands, right? I mean, why has this ever been an issue before, and I'm just missing it?
Obviously, you know why? You know why? I figured it out. I just now have figured it out. It's the freaking 17th game in the NFL. The NFL week is now extended into January 1st being the regular season. I think the regular season ended prior to that weekend. I remember watching an NFL playoff game the day before we played LSU for the national championship. So it was that Pittsburgh-Denver game. I remember watching the Tebow, the Denver game that Tebow won for Denver in the playoffs.
I remember that.
Yeah. That was like the day before we played LSU in the Superdome in 2011. So yeah, it's that stupid extra game, another NFL cash grab that I detest. Now at the same time I detest it, do I watch it? Oh hell yeah, because it's the NFL. I'm like anybody else. I mean, I love the NFL. I'm going to watch it if it's on, but it's such a Godzilla. It just stomps everything around it, including college football. And it's a real shame for those of us who love college football more than they love the NFL, but it's also a reality. And thank goodness for me, the NFL is my second favorite sport that's out there. So I can live with it if college football is getting pushed off the air, replaced by NFL football. I can live with that. But you're right. There are some traditions in college football that are so awesome, and you hate to not see them upheld simply because the NFL's like, sorry, we own Sunday. We own a day of the week. Like they said in that Will Smith movie about the concussions. It's a real good movie, by the way, when Will Smith, this African-born doctor, was about to take on the NFL over concussions, and his people were warning him, and they're like, you have no idea how powerful the NFL is. They own a day of the week.
Well, Jimmy, and that's to even talk about more how powerful it is. There was a movie about how dangerous these concussions were, and it's literally stopped nothing. The movie was making a point about how powerful they were, and instead of everybody going, oh my God, everybody was like, yeah, they're powerful. Now when's the game on? Which, by the way, I'm going to say this too. I hate it for anybody who's dealt with concussions or any kind of serious injury from football. But, I mean, I've said this a gazillion times, and maybe it's easy for me to say because I'm right up against 50, and, I'm looking back on my life with full of regret. But no, but it's easy for me to say that I've never been hurt or concussed or whatever that I know of. But if you told me at age 18, okay, Luke, you have the ability of a Julio Jones. You are Julio Jones. But if you play football now, you're going to, your fingers are going to be a little bit dicey when you grow older. There's going to be a better chance you die 5 years earlier than the average human being. You could have some concussions. You might forget who some of your family members are from time to time, whatever. Not making light of the situation. These things happen. I would say, yeah, I would do that for generational wealth and for just because I love the game. I would. There's some people who wouldn't. I get it. I totally understand. I'm just saying that, again, that's how powerful football is, the allure of it all, and not only just the money. I think you have to love the game or the money doesn't come. I mean, I don't think we know anybody who's played football for 15 years and just like, I'm just doing this to cash a check. You'll never make it. You got to have some passion. So anyway, I mean, some people may think I'm nuts about that, but I just believe it's sometimes, it's worth the risk because you change your whole family tree, you change everything, and you get to play a sport you love, and yeah, you might get hurt, but I mean, shoot, I was just out there playing volleyball with my daughter and about sprained my ankle on the beach. So, and nobody's paying me to do that at all. In fact, people would probably pay me to stop. I was looking like some kind of wounded stork. But Jimmy, okay, that's going to do it for today. And I just looked it up too. The NFL actually goes, there's 18 weeks now. Okay.
Yeah. Well, 17th game is.
Yeah. I know what you're saying, but, I was wondering, I was like, oh my God, they actually play on that Sunday before the national championship game in SoFi Stadium. And I was like, are you kidding me? Are the Rams going to have a game then? I just looked up, the Rams are actually at Seattle, but that would have been actually kind of fun to go to a Rams game.
Chargers play there too, don't they?
Do they play at SoFi?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh my God. Well, let me look and see if the Chargers are playing there. No, the LA Chargers are at Denver. So your SOL on both those. That makes sense. I mean, they at least got to brush the seats off, right? I mean, even though college football is a second-class citizen to them, they at least got to make an effort.
I think the Saints played really close to that same Alabama LSU game I'm talking about. I believe it was Alabama LSU, and I think the Saints played a home playoff game within a day or two of Alabama playing LSU, because I rode on a trolley, which we don't normally do down there, but I remember riding on a trolley that was just jam-packed full of Saints fans in their Saints jerseys. I have a vague recollection of this.
Well, after the Peach Bowl, Atlanta's got a home game the very next day.
Wow. Then the next day.
Yeah.
The Falcons.
Falcons do. Yeah.
Well,
the good news is nobody will be there.
The Falcon season could be canceled due to lack of interest.
All right, buddy. We'll talk tomorrow, okay? Thanks.
That could be Bryce Young's Falcons. I've already called it once on Twitter.
That is true.
That Bryce Young will be a Falcon.
You watch me become a Falcons fan when that happens.